What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in and watching, listening, enjoying, hopefully, this interview that I'm about to do. We got a special guest on the show. It's weird that I say that every time because every guest is special. All of the guests are special. Some of them are extra special, and I think we all know what I mean. But this is a very cool, very amazing guest that I'm about to interview right now. And you are... you're kind of a big deal. Now, I'm not going to say your name yet because I'm still in my head practicing how to say it. So I'm just gonna buy some time so that I can practice your name in my head about 17 more times. But we've got a lot to cover today in this interview. Now, I said that it's probably going to be like 10 or 15-minute interview. I think we're probably going to go a bit longer than that because I'm looking at all this data. I'm looking at all this information that we're about to dig into, and there's a lot of information here. So we might go over that. Ladies and gentlemen, right now I'm sitting here, and essentially, I guess you're across from me because I'm looking at you. We're in two separate parts of the country, but we're right here. It's across the table. We'll say that.
Yeah, we're in the same room.
That's right, kind of in the same situation. Adaleta, Avdic.
Pretty good.
Is that good? Okay. Oh man. Well, you say it now, and let's see how close I was.
Adaleta, Avdic.
Yeah, I wasn't. I think
you went the Avdic route, which
I did,
is a new one. I like it. I'm okay with that.
Well, I'm going to still, the whole time I'm going to practice it in my head. So this might get a little weird and I'm going to spout random things, but I'm going to practice. We'll get it. All right. So you are, you're busy. First of all, you are incredibly busy right now. You have a lot of things going on. And we'll get into all that here in just a second. But now you were born in Bosnia. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you came over here. I'm getting fed through my ear. I'm getting my producer over here is feeding me. No, you were born in Bosnia. You came over to the U.S. when you were about 5.
Yes, came here when I was 5 in the early 90s when all the genocide and all the craziness was happening back there.
Mm-hmm.
So we came to the U.S. as refugees, and we were actually under the protection of a Catholic church over in Philadelphia. So that's kind of how we made our journey over here. It's really cool to be able to say that we were able to leave and, everything was good. But yeah, originally from Bosnia. So I have Bosnian roots.
How did you get, what was the process of saying, all right, it's time to go? And then how did you actually get over here?
So I think the process was, my mom was a doctor in our small little town. So she had the funds. She kind of saved and had the funds to basically take us over to the U.S. I think they decided at some point it was just too dangerous. There were grenades dropping. All the stuff you could imagine. It was war, genocide, all that stuff. So I think they just decided a better life would be in America for us. And so my mom bought us the plane tickets, and I actually remember learning some of my first English words from this book on the plane. So it was like A is for apple,
yep.
B is for boy, and it was like this big book, and every page had a different letter. And that was some of my first memories of actually being on a plane and then coming over to the U.S., learning those different letters.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Have you gone back since then? I'm assuming you have family that's still over there that you can go back and see. What has changed since? I know you were 5 years old, but what has changed since you can remember from being here for any amount of time, going back over there? How have things changed?
So I think things have kind of stayed sort of stagnant, to be honest. There was never really enough money in the economy to help fix a lot of things. So there are still buildings with just bullet holes in them. It's kind of crazy, the fact that there's still things that are in place from way back then. Mm-hmm. But there are so many beautiful parts of Bosnia, and I think what their tourism team has done is kind of focused on the places that weren't really affected. But, there's still places that just look like they went through war, yesterday.
Right.
And it's just because there's not enough money to just fix a brand new apartment building and fix all those bullet holes. You can still see some of that damage. So there's definitely a little bit of aftermath, even to this day, even though that was almost 30 years ago. It's like still evident that they went through a genocide and a war.
Yeah. So is it kind of like when you go back, is it kind of like going back in time to where you left it almost? Or is there more subtle changes, or is there, does it feel weird or anything like that?
It feels weird to go back, to be honest. We're so privileged here in the U.S. Small things that we notice. those little hangers that you can put your purse on in restaurants, like those types of things, like you would never see that, so it's the little things that make me kind of feel out of my element, but it's an awesome place to go visit. And it's obviously really nice to see my family because everybody is still back there. I mean, it was just my parents, my brother and I here in the US, and then maybe like a cousin or two, but everybody else is still in Bosnia. So there's plenty of people to go see out there. And I usually have to spend a couple weeks to kind of see everybody, Are
they able to come over here at all?
They are. They just don't like making the trip.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a long trip. You know how it goes. It's like 24, 25-hour days. And my grandma and some of my older aunts and uncles, they're like, no, not happening. I'm not getting on the plane for 30 hours.
Makes sense. I just actually came back from North Carolina, and it's only about I came back from North Carolina to Nashville, which is only about 11 and a half hours. Well, it took 24 hours because of vehicle breakdowns and things like that. And I was like, this is not good. I don't like this at all. And
the actual act of traveling is the worst thing ever. You want to be in the new place. Yep. That's awesome. But the actual act of airports and cars and trains and all this stuff is terrible. It's exhausting.
It is
Even though
not
you
great.
may not be the one doing anything, it's still exhausting.
Yeah. I can't wait until teleporting happens. This is
I hope
2019.
this happens in our lifetime. We need this.
It's 2019. We put a Tesla car in space, but we can't. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not bitter. It's totally fine. All right. So you were born in Bosnia. You came over here when you were about 5, and you ended up in Philadelphia.
Yes.
How did that experience from coming from Bosnia over to Philadelphia? I mean, what were the feelings, if you can remember that?
To be honest, I don't remember too much of that part of my life because it was like 5 to 8 because we were only in Philly for about 3 years. I honestly feel like it wasn't that different because they're both really cold places. It's like cold in Bosnia is like a whole nother level, but the cold in Philly, still cold.
Right.
So I remember the landscape kind of being the same, getting up, helping my dad scrape snow and ice off the car. But other than that, I didn't really feel any different. Obviously language difference, but I think everything kind of hit me later on because we ended up moving to Los Angeles. And that's when I realized that I wasn't really cultured the same way as a lot of people because I'd missed, the first 5 to 8 years of what all the other kids were watching on TV, what music they were listening to. I had missed all of that stuff. Right. So in terms of pop culture, I wasn't really up to date on that. And that's kind of when I was 8 or 9, I started realizing, man, I don't know what any of these references are. I don't know what these jokes are. I don't know what kids are talking about. So that's kind of where I realized I'm a little bit different just because I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a lot of the same stuff that kids that age watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Did you feel like you had to catch up and spend hours watching and researching and doing all this stuff? Yeah, yeah.
I have to watch The Lion King, every Walt Disney movie. I need to watch the basics.
I feel like I still have to do that. Like I'm so out of touch. I don't even know what's going on anymore in the world.
Being thrown out there too. It's like this new movie, and they're remaking every movie ever made. So maybe I didn't really have to catch up back then.
Maybe not.
Now.
So here's something else that intrigues me, and I read this about your dad. He was a pilot, or he is a pilot now, and that was pretty quickly after you guys came over that he became a pilot, which I think is amazing. I wanted to be a pilot, and then I found out all of the stuff that you have to do to be a pilot, and I was like, I'll just fly. I'll just have someone else fly me. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
I let somebody else do that.
Yeah, no big deal. But the process behind that, about him becoming a pilot, I mean, how much do you remember about that whole process?
That was a really long, very expensive process because when we originally were in Philadelphia, he got a job as a mechanic for a big airline company. And then we moved over to LA when that opportunity arose. And then he started flying Cessna planes and learning how to fly on his own. And the rates for those types of flights, just to learn, it's like $200, $300 an hour. And you have to get an X amount of hours, and some crazy number. It's like 2,000 to 3,000 hours of flying. So that just adds up astronomically to get that time in order to be able to take the test. And then every certification after that requires another X amount of hours. And it was just a lot of time. And I remember back then my mom was really working all the time. My dad was working. They were just trying to pay off all of the flight lessons that he had to pay for. And as you can imagine, we came to the U.S. We didn't have any money. We spent all of our money to get to the U.S., and leave the genocide behind. So just to pay that much for those flight lessons, I remember was a huge burden. Yeah. But he was able to persevere. He got through all of it. He got his license. And then every couple years after that, he ended up getting another certification. So it was like, okay, now you can fly this type of plane. Now it's a jet. Now it's this. Now it's a commercial. And so he's definitely continued the education and continued to get more hours and fly different types of planes too. I didn't realize how much time and effort goes into all of that. I mean, it's insane. And you got to train, and some of the training programs are like $25,000 for like 2-3 weeks. Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive to learn how to fly.
Yes, it's ridiculous. And that's one of the main reasons why I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't really know if I like it that much. Nope. But he always wanted me to be a pilot. So I could probably, I mean, in case of emergency, if something ever happened to a pilot, I may be able to land the plane. I mean, I don't want to put that out there, but if anybody ever needed me to, I may be able to land it, because I spent a lot of those hours with him up in small little Cessna planes, which I've now realized that are actually, they are the most accident prone. Yeah. I was like, oh, good. Glad I was up there.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too, if you're flying and something happens and the airline provides internet on that flight, you can just Google it, see on YouTube how to fly the plane.
That's true.
You know, they'll guide you in. It'll be fine. You can have Siri do it, or whatever. So we're gonna get into the meat of this conversation right now. Okay, this is what makes you so busy. Well, this is one of the things. We're going to get into hopefully several things that make you so busy, but this is one of the things that when I was looking up, information and seeing all of the things that you do, this was one of those things where I was like, first of all, the name of your website, amazing. Amazing. It's something, this is a blog that you started back in 2013. And it has just, it blossomed. It looks like to me that this has just become its own entity, and it just kind of, it just curates itself. But attitude.com is what the site is, and ADAATUDE. I love it. It's amazing to me. Tell us a little bit about what this means, what it's about, how it became, and where it's at right now.
So how it came about, I've always been a little bit sassy. I have a little bit of an attitude, which my Instagram family definitely knows. They can see it in my stories. I get a little sassy. I go on these rants, whatever. So Adaleta is always really hard for people to say. So I started to tell people, call me Ada. And so attitude, which just seemed like the perfect combination, just spelled a little differently. And ADATUDE was taken even back then. I should have messaged that girl and been like, can I have this username?
Yeah.
I decided to rock the 2 A's in the middle, and I've just stuck with it. Even though people do misspell it, it's fine. It's just who I am. I'm like, let's just rock the triple A's. It's totally cool. And it started off, this is super random, but it started off as an electronic dance music blog as a senior college project, because I was very much into electronic dance music back then. That was my thing. Obviously kept it very PG because my professor was grading the blog, so I wasn't talking about anything too crazy. But I just realized how much people liked the way that I wrote, and they said that it sounded like I was talking to them. It was very conversational, and they liked that. So I just kept writing, and I kind of switched it over to beauty back then because I was a beauty fanatic. That was something that I really liked, and I used to spend hundreds of dollars at Ulta and Sephora every month to, get the latest eyeshadow palette, the newest mascara, so I could tell people, is it worth your money or not? Yeah. And so that's really how the blog started. And it was a beauty blog for a long time. And I kind of got rid of that electronic dance music piece because it just didn't really make sense anymore. Right. It's like 10 blog posts on that. And then I kind of just transitioned to other stuff. But then I think I started traveling in 2014. So I had a corporate job that required me to travel 2 to 3 times a month. So I just started to weave in travel because people would ask me, what did you do in Denver? What did you do here? What did you do here? So then I would do travel guides. So then I added travel, and then the newest addition is fashion, which I feel like everyone ends up somewhere in fashion because the posts that have me in them always perform better than a post that has a picture of just makeup. And so I realized that the best way to engage is people want to see a face behind the brand. So now my photos are of me, and I'll still say, I love this beauty product, and I'll do more of that on stories, or I'll hold the product, but it seems like it just does a lot better when I'm actually in the photo. So I kind of switched over from just flat lay shots and product shots to just me traveling in a different outfit, sharing a different beauty product. So it's all of it. So it's basically a lifestyle blog now. Everything that I do day to day, things that I recommend and love.
Did you think when you first started this blog, did you think that and I'm gonna share these numbers here in a minute, but did you think that when you started this blog, even as a music blog, even as a review blog for the electronic dance music, did you think that it was going to become what it is today, even if it was just still the dance music? Did you think that at all?
No. I had no idea. I mean, that was back in the day of like the Michelle Pfons and Zoellas, which were super, super big in the beauty space. They were the only ones who were doing it, and everyone just followed them. It was like 10 million people, eyes on them, and that was it. Didn't ever realize this was actually going to become a career, an industry. There's so many people now involved with what happens with bloggers. There's agencies. There's obviously the middleman who's talking to the brand and finding influencers. There's talent agents. I mean, there's so many businesses that have kind of like sprung up just from this idea of bloggers. It's crazy. And that was not the case back in 2012, 13. It was not a thing.
Right. So
it's just incredible how it's grown. But I never envisioned it would actually be a potential job, honestly.
Well, and you said influencer, and that's a relatively new term as far as what we're talking about today. This is something that intrigues me because for me, growing up in the 80s is when I grew up, and we're not going to talk about that right now. But growing up in the 80s, I didn't have any of this stuff. Internet was just brand new, and it was AOL dial-up crap. It took 2 weeks to do anything on. It was horrible. This being an influencer for something that you're passionate about, and having brands come and seek you out saying, hey, can you help us release our product? Can you help us do a review on our product? Can you do this? Can you do that? This world is amazing to me. Like, it's something that I never even thought of until it was already thought of. Something that it's like, wow, that is something that'd be amazing. For you, when you have somebody come to you, a company, an entity, somebody that's coming to you saying, hey, we like what you're doing. We love that you have, I'm going to throw out the number, let's say 600,000 followers or viewers, or however you want to say it. You have 600,000. That's a huge number. Coming to you on a certain amount of time. We want you to help us with this product. Is this that blows my mind? Like, that just completely. I'm just like, all right. Like, this is something that I do for a living now. This is something that you can do as your job, as something that pays you. Feelings behind that. What were your initial, that first one that you got, that first thing that came to you and said, we'd actually like to pay you or trade you to do something. You can have product or you can have money, whatever it was. What were the feelings behind that?
I think it was honestly surreal when the first couple came through, and it was like, okay, we're launching a new foundation, we're launching a new blush, we're launching a new mascara, whatever it was. Pretty surreal to think, oh, they want to pay me. And back then, when I first started getting paid, I had like 50,000 followers, and it required you to have a higher number in order to really get paid. Versus today, there's a micro influencer. You can have 1,000 followers and make $20 to post.
Yeah.
Back then, it was like, if you weren't at least to 100K, you're probably not going to make any money. So when I had 40 to 50, I was already getting offers, and it was because they'd seen all these reviews, and they're like, okay, she's been doing this for a couple years. Maybe we should pay her. And at that point, I think I'd been doing it for 3 years.
Right.
And so it was crazy to see something I'd done as a hobby at night, like writing, trying not to have a typo at midnight, to see that actually turn into a career and replace, traditional media like magazines. And because now people are going to influencers for reviews on products versus, opening up Cosmo or Elle or whatever. It's just amazing to have that kind of trust from people, but then also have that trust from brands where they prefer to use you with the money, the marketing money that they have versus doing something else. Yeah. So it's very surreal, honestly. But I mean, the first few times it was like, oh my gosh, I got an offer. And, thinking now it was like, $50. Right. But back then I was like, oh my gosh, $50.
Yep.
It's crazy.
So when you're in this process of doing some of these things, what's the weirdest thing? Not necessarily weird, but what's the oddest thing you've had to do as far as like the way you film, the way you shoot, the products you do? What's something you're like, that was interesting for sure. I'm glad I did that, but that was definitely interesting. Is there anything that you've ever done where you're just like, oh, okay, well, I did that. That's fun, I guess.
I've tried some weird beauty products.
Yeah.
So say that. So you know the way that it goes with beauty and marketing. It's like, this is going to make you look 20 years younger. And I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
So I'm here to kind of debunk that stuff. But I've had some weird stuff on my face before, like this mask that kind of just fizzled up. And it kind of started to burn. And you've probably seen that crazy Facebook viral video where like they were trying to peel off like that black mask and like ripping the skin off. It kind of felt like that. It came off a lot easier, but it was like the air oxidized the mask, and then it got all fizzy and it was bubbling. I was like, this shouldn't be happening right now.
Whoa.
But I guess that was the way that the mask worked, but it started to burn as it bubbled, and it had to solidify before you could remove it. So that was a weird one. I was like, that was cool to try. Never again.
Never again, yeah.
Well, there's been some weird stuff, but I've tried a lot of peels, a lot of masks. I mean, face oils, and some of them really don't agree with my skin. But
Right.
I guess that's, at the end of the day, that's how I got into doing this. So I'm always willing to be a guinea pig.
Right.
But there's been some weird things.
Yeah, well, but that's good though, because you're, being an influencer, being someone in your position, being willing to try these new things,
Yeah.
it shows everybody else, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe we should not buy this product. Or,
Maybe I shouldn't.
yeah, or if you have this skin type, if you have, this particular situation, don't use this. Use something else. I think that's pretty cool that people can actually. Because I go all the time. I'm in the video world, so I do video editing. So I'm looking at reviews on cameras. I'm looking at equipment. I'm looking at all this stuff, and I can go to the manufacturer's website or all that stuff. But there's about 4 people that I go to that are influencers for what I do. I trust them. I know that they're doing a good product. I know that they're unbiased about it. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. They're going to tell me that. I know that. I trust them. I know that that's going to be something. I rely on that 100% over even like other people's reviews on, say, Amazon or their website or wherever it's being sold, So those are like, if I wore makeup, I'm not saying I don't, I'm just saying, for example, if I wore makeup, you would be on my top list of people that I would go to, or any type of beauty products or travel or whatever it was. But that's kind of how I can translate that as these video people over here. I know that they're legit. I know that they can handle it, and I know that they're probably making a decent amount of money, and I'm still stuck here behind a mic. But that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. That's beside the point.
They won over your trust. So if they tell you a camera's good, you got to go get the camera.
Yep. I mean, I just literally bought a little light that goes on top of my camera for video stuff, and I was 2 months looking at it, and I finally went to the influencer that I like. I went to his website, looked it up, and he's like, "No, you got to get this." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." It's bought.
You're like, "Okay,
Yep, done. I
Take
have it.
my money."
Yep. And now I have it. It's in I just got it yesterday, and it's amazing. So it's a good purchase. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the whole point. Like, I would rather go see somebody else that's in my field doing what I do than the company that's paying an advertising company to advertise in their best interest. And this is amazing. This influencers are amazing in the way that they can do that, the way that they've been able to do things from the very beginning. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but talking about influencer, what does that really, really mean to you as far as what you're doing and how you're doing it?
So I think my view of this has honestly changed over the past few years, because before it was kind of just a popularity contest. Everybody was like, how many followers do you have? Because that really was dependent on how much you got paid. And as much as people tell you it doesn't matter how much you have or how many followers you have, it definitely does.
Yeah.
So you're going to get paid more the bigger you are. It's just, it goes hand in hand. So that was always kind of a weird thing for me, because I originally started it because I just wanted to connect with people online. Never really got along with people that well. It was kind of like I was better at communicating my thoughts through writing versus, the spoken word. And it was just because, I came from Bosnia, and I kind of learned things a little bit differently a little bit later. So I never really said the right thing. And I'm still trying to find my humor these days, but it's getting there. It's taken almost 30 years, but it's getting there. So it was easier for me to write because I had time to kind of think through things. And for me, it was more about like, let's just make some friends online, because maybe I can't meet people where I am, what city I'm in. And that's originally how it kind of started. And then, it's like, how many numbers can you get? Because that's when you get paid. And so today I've kind of changed all of that. Really, it's not really a popularity contest. It's not really about, meeting people. It's more so about influencing people by making them think positively of themselves and trying to promote their self-love and their self-worth to themselves. And I try to, be very easygoing and very approachable. I totally respond to every DM unless it's like a super creepy one from a guy. No offense.
Sorry about that. I did send that.
DMs, you probably get them too. But I respond to everybody who reaches out to me, because for me, in order to even be doing what I'm doing, it's because people care about my opinion and they trust me and they want to talk to me. So it's important for me to engage with them. And so my content now is more about body positivity. And, we're not all going to be 6 feet tall, 95 pounds. Like, we all have different bodies and we all should love ourselves no matter what. So it's really just to empower people now and truly influence them to be happier about themselves. I never want someone to come to my social media and think, oh my gosh, she makes me feel terrible about myself. And I've really been good about that, because I don't have the body of, the people who our media has really made us feel are the most beautiful, those like very stick thin, beautiful girls. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them either. But it's just, I don't want people to feel crappy about, my content. And so it's been really important to me to just be positive and just empower other people and give them something to look forward to in the day. And, some days I get really funny on stories and people will watch everything at the end of the day and they're like, you totally made my day.
Right.
So freaking funny, because I've gone on some random rant about who knows what. And they're like, this just totally made my day. I had the worst Tuesday ever. I just saw your stories. I feel so much better, opening up my bottle of wine. And that makes me feel really good, because I'm kind of like engaging with people all over and they enjoy what I'm, they enjoy the random banter that I have throughout the day. And it's just all about making people happy, not anything else.
Yeah.
For me now, it's just, I want to make people happy with what I put out there. So that's kind of the goal today.
Has that ever been an issue? Has it ever been some days you're just like, I'm just so... Has it been easy to do, a lot of what you do as far as keeping everybody in a good mood, keeping yourself in a good mood? Or has there been days where you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to bed. I'm good.
I don't have the issue of like, I don't want to like do today. I'm always like super excited to get started and, be out there. But I think there are bad days, and there are days when I get really crappy emails from brands saying like, you have to reshoot your photos. And I'm like, I already paid my photographer. I don't want to reshoot anything. I like the work, because for me to, send something out, I feel proud of it. And to get, that slap back of, no, brand doesn't like it, you got to redo it. That sucks. And that kind of ruins my day. But then I'll just joke about other things online, because at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Right. It's just another obstacle. And you just got to roll through the punches, especially with what we do, because it's still being figured out. No day is like any other day. I mean, everything's always changing, and who knows what influencers will be like in 10 years. I mean, this could be a whole different ball game, but like,
Yep.
You have no idea. So it's kind of just like, you're always rolling with the punches, and you just got to get up and do it. And yeah, I mean, there are days when I definitely do get sad, and people are like, oh, you look so sad. And I'm like, thanks, Marsha. Thanks for noticing that I don't look as chipper, But I mean, that's the reality. Everybody has bad days.
Right.
So I'm still going to show my face and be out there, because I like to engage with people. But I mean, for the most part, I've been really trying to stay as positive as possible over the past like year or two. Because back in the day when I was reviewing products, I was also talking about the bad. Mm-hmm. I was like, this really sucks. This brand totally sucks. And it was like, why am I focusing on that? I should just be focusing on the good products. Why even waste time on the bad, you know? So I've really been trying to like stay with the positive side of things. But I mean, I'll always bring up something that is annoying or,
right.
Funny.
Well, but that's good. I mean, that's a really legit review. I mean, you're actually reviewing the product. And if there is something, I do several reviews. I haven't done nearly as many as you. I'm not that good. But when I review a product, I tell everybody, I said, look, this is, it's going to be real. So if you're the brand and I'm doing the review for you, you may not like it. But it is what it is, and you're going to have to deal with it. Otherwise, don't ask me to do it, because I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want the truth and you think you can handle the truth, then that's great. But if you don't want to hear the truth, don't talk to me, because you're going to get the truth.
Exactly. I'm definitely the same way. I'm very, very honest about all kinds of stuff. But you do get into some muddy waters when you write negative reviews, and you probably know that too. Then that brand is like, we're never sending XYZ a PR package again. She talked some smack about our lip product.
Right.
I'm like, well, people were asking me about it, and I had to tell them because I have it. So why not tell people what I think? So it is kind of a weird relationship nowadays, because back in the day you were being paid from YouTube ads, and now the biggest money comes from being paid directly with a brand. That's really like the best way to get paid the most amount, flat fee. And so you do get into muddy water sometimes. It's like, okay, I can't be talking about this because it's a terrible product. And even if you don't post negative things about it, if you tell them you don't like it, they still get upset. So it's like, you gotta be honest with your audience, because as long as your audience trusts you, you have everything. If they don't trust you, you've lost the whole business.
Well, and I think, too, at this point, if a brand comes to you, a brand new brand that you've never dealt with before, and they come to you and they are, you do the review, there might be a couple bad things in there, but they're honest things, and they are mad about it, they did not do their research on what you do. And I think that's when they come to me and they're like, well, you said this. And I was like, yeah. And I said other things in the other 20 videos that I've done too. And everybody was happy. I was like, I told you, I'm going to be honest. And this is being honest. I still like your product, but these are the small flaws. It's just, that's how it is.
Right.
Anyway, I have a question. Which works out because we're doing an interview, so that it happens to be a good situation. Do you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, I do. And actually, this is a very interesting question, because the other day I got some weird DMs from people, and they were they basically classified me just as a blogger. So the DM started off as, hey, Adaleta, we noticed that you're just a fashion blogger and we want to help you in the entrepreneurial side. And I was like, first of all, you don't really start a pitch by insulting me. No. First of all, business 101. But second of all, I think that anybody who is a blogger or has some kind of business is making money, however small it is, you're still an entrepreneur, because it is still a business that you've built from the ground up. Whatever you're doing with it varies. Every blogger does different things. Some people create their own products. Some people just rely on, brand affiliates and all of that. So I think at the end of the day, this industry and what we do is definitely being an entrepreneur, because you just started the business from the ground up. And I don't know exactly when you become one, but I honestly think that as soon as you start, when you think you're a legit blogger and you're truly dedicated to it, and you're going to post X amount of times a week, and you're going to post on Instagram, and you're going to make a YouTube video, I think you're an entrepreneur. So yes, I definitely think that we definitely are entrepreneurs. And it's an amazing thing to say, to be honest, because I always thought, the entrepreneurs were the sharks. And it's like, no, little old me is an entrepreneur,
It's small businesses. It's all the stuff that's in the that runs this country, and it's the smaller things. It's not the CEO of this major company. It's not the major company in itself. It's all the people that are doing what we're doing, what you're doing, that are making this work. And I remember back, let's even say like 10 years ago, when this whole thing started of influencers and things like that. The blogs started blowing up and all this. I remember that there used to be such a negativity about that, at least in my world, at least in my circle. People were like, oh, this is so dumb. How are they getting paid for all this? This is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, first of all, they're getting paid. Second of all, that's amazing, because they have created something from nothing, and now they're making it into a career. And all these people were just freaking out. And now they're like, they're paying these people to be their own influencer and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, no one understands. I can't say that. That's not fair. The word entrepreneurship is very loosely said, I think, among everybody, really. But it is something that I believe is detrimental to the way that we function in the U.S. Not just in the world. Entrepreneurs are a key essential to business, to doing anything and everything, because it runs in the background. It's something that all the other businesses stand on. All the other companies will stand on entrepreneurs, because that's what holds everything together. My opinion, just my opinion, but it's right. So anyway, you have traveled. You have traveled quite a bit. Now you've gotten paid to travel. You were actually, that was your job. That's what you did. But then you transferred over and said, I'm going to do this for me now. I'm going to make this happen. There was a time, there was a little moment in your life when you were working for the man and you decided to work for you. And the time when that happened was something probably amazing. But when you decided to put in your notice at your job, what were your feelings?
It was pretty recent, to be honest with you. It took me a long time to make that decision. And I kept putting arbitrary benchmarks on when I was going to quit. It was like, because I loved what I did. I worked in tourism, and that's the coolest industry ever. You travel all around, you eat, drink, have a great time in all kinds of cities and places. I mean, who wouldn't love that, So it was really hard to make the decision. But I remember it basically happened fall of last year. So I'm like very new to being full time at this, which is amazing because, the things I can accomplish when I focus, all of my energy on one career versus two and kind of splitting that time. But there were two opportunities that came up, and it was both travel opportunities. One was with Phoenix, which is just a 2-hour drive for me, but I had to be out of the office for a week. The other one was going to Virginia Beach, again, out of the office for another week. And the company had an unlimited PTO policy, but it's not really unlimited. Yeah. It's just a fancy term to get you to want to work there. Yep. So I said, I have these two opportunities, both paid. I really want to go and do this. And it was just like my boss had been so understanding and so giving for years. And he was just like, I can't approve it. Like, we can't. I've already talked to, the C-levels. It's too much PTO. You can't do it. So it was a decision I had to make in that moment. It was, do I lose these two amazing travel opportunities that are going to further my, my career as with my business, or do I just say, screw it, I'm just going to go back to the corporate job? And I think at that point, my heart was just already made up, but that was those two trips being back to back really just made the decision for me. And I feel like I was always waiting for a sign like that. You always wait for this like sign from something out there, and you're like, please tell me what I'm supposed to do. And so that was the sign for me. I was like, okay, you got to do these two trips. You got to put your 2 weeks in. And I was nervous because obviously, like, that's not a great conversation to have with your boss. And I will never, ever, ever forget, he hired me when I had little to no experience and promoted me 3 times in my 6-year career with that company. And I have so much experience. I managed a team. I mean, things that whatever happens with influencing, I still have that experience. That's not going anywhere. Right. So I'll be able to find a job if I have to go back and work corporate life again. But it was really hard because I still remember the day that he hired me, and I called my mom and I was like, Mom, my life is going to change. Like, I have a real job and a 401k. And like, I will never forget those happy tears. So it was hard to tell him, like, I'm picking this other path. And he was really understanding. He said he always hoped I would pick his path and be a director in that department, but he understood. He said that if it were him, he would always wonder what could have happened if I pursued this. And, you'd always kind of have those, it would haunt you, because what could have happened if you just went out on your own? So, it was a hard decision. It took a long time to make. But it was a recent one I made, and it's honestly been a really good decision because I'm still working in tourism. It's just I'm working with it in a different way. It's now influencer versus, being the agency selling the product to the destinations. Now I'm the one just exploring the destination and sharing with the world my thoughts on what there is to do, see, eat, all that good stuff. So it's been an amazing thing. It's something I get excited about every time. I'm like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about when I left my job, because, it's a question I get a lot from bloggers because nowadays, this, but everyone's a blogger. Everyone's got a blog about something. And it's like, are you serious about it? Or is it just a side hobby? Is it for fun? Do you want free products? What is the capacity of what blogging is to you? And there's so many girls who are doing an amazing job and they still have corporate jobs and they're just afraid to make the jump. And I think you got to just make the jump. If that's what you want to do, if you're talking about something you're passionate about, you went to school for film or you went to school for fashion and you want to go do a blog and get online and share that stuff, you just have to do it, because to split your time amongst two very, very time consuming things, is really, really hard. And I don't even know how I did it, to be honest, back then, because now I'm still staying up just as late, still not getting that much sleep. It's like, how did I do both for so long? Because it's a huge time suck, obviously. It's like I didn't really sleep much back then.
All right, so new bloggers or bloggers, even older bloggers that are still out there trying to move forward with what they're doing, trying to be at your level, trying to do things maybe not necessarily in the same field that you're doing it in, but just in general. Yeah. What's some advice that you would give to them to say, look, here's how I did it. Now, I don't do it the same way I did it. Do it how you want to do it, but this is a template. You can use this. What are some of those things that you would say, here, just use this and see what happens?
So some of these are cliche, but they're very true. There's a lot of people who start out these days. Honestly, the question I get asked probably like 6 times a day is, how do I make money blogging tomorrow? I'm like, well, do you have a platform? Have you ever written a blog post? And they're like, no, but I need to make money because I need to pay for rent at the end of the month. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly how it works. It's like it was a black hole of money for years and years for me before I even made $50. It's just, you have to build a following in order to make money, and you can't go in it expecting the money, because that's just not how it works. You don't just become a viral success overnight. In most cases, some people do. I applaud them. I want that to be me one day.
Right.
But it takes a lot of work. And so people go in it and they're like, I just want to make all this money because I know that, Kendall Jenner makes $250,000 per Instagram post minimum. People see that and they're like, I want to be an influencer. It's like, yeah, but she's got like 100 million followers. Exactly. That's a whole nother level,
Exactly. And she's Kendall Jenner. I mean, she's
Kendall Jenner. So that there's that too.
Yeah.
But I think you can't go in it for the money. You have to go in it because you are really passionate about something. So you obviously really follow and love video, filming equipment. So you would want to start a blog about that because you're passionate about it. But if you're not into, a topic and you're trying to write about it, there's nothing interesting about that because you're writing about something you don't really care about, and it's probably going to die off and fizzle out over time. So you really have to pick something you want to talk about for the long haul, because if you change your dynamic, and this was one of the things I learned over time, but you really have to pick something specific in the beginning because there's too many people who are just lifestyle bloggers. So why would someone follow you? So if you're really good at fashion and you're a stylist and you can really style an outfit, you should talk about that. But then if you switch gears at some point, you will definitely lose some of your audience and gain a whole new one because people are kind of shuffling through because they don't care about the new thing you're talking about. So it's hard to start off as a lifestyle. It really makes more sense to start off as something more niche. So those are kind of the two big ones. Don't go in it for the money, and pick something that you're really passionate about. And I think probably the biggest thing is do not replicate and copy somebody else. If your photos and your feed look exactly the same as somebody else who's been doing it for X amount of time, I mean, you're not being unique. You're not yourself. You're basically just taking somebody else's creativity and using it to try to grow yourself. But people have already seen that. They already follow that other person, So you really have to be creative.
Do you think that there is, and I know this is kind of a loaded question, but do you think there's still room for other bloggers, other people that are doing what you're doing? Do you think there's still, if they were to start today, do you think that there is still something out there where they could attach themselves to and make it their own and still do the same thing that you're doing as far as being an influencer?
Yes, there is room for everybody. If you have 2 followers today, you may have 200,000 in a year. You never know. You just got to start and just blog and be on social media, be passionate and share your passion with whoever it is, because honestly, the budget for all the brands, there's plenty to go around, and it continues to increase as brands take money away from, old school marketing methods like billboards and things like that. They're not necessarily paying for an advertisement in a magazine anymore. They're paying somebody of influence of some kind on Instagram because we're spending a lot of time on Instagram. We're spending a lot of time on Facebook. So they're targeting people who have that audience engaging in those networks. So I think there is so much space. There's so much budget. I mean, there is definitely room for everybody. And honestly, every fashion blogger that I follow is different. I mean, there's nothing similar about them. And that's why when I see people who have, 10,000 followers and I see the same poses in the same locations, in the same from, a certain other influencer, it's like, well, you got to get more creative, because in order to get to that next level, you've got to do something that hasn't been done before. And it's hard to do, but that's what makes you different, and that's what makes you unique. So it's definitely a place that needs more bloggers. I need to find more bloggers who do different types of things. Like, there's not really that many about gardening. There's not many females talking about video and film equipment, So there's room for all kinds of stuff. There's not really that many men's fashion bloggers. I mean, so there's plenty of space for everybody to share their passion and talk about whatever it is they want to talk about, because trust me, there's somebody who wants to read that information online.
So you're saying, if you're thinking about it, stop thinking about it and just do it.
Do it.
Just do it. Make it happen. And
just get it started.
And I know that you're.
You want to say you started your blog and business in 2019? Just get it going.
And I think too that if they want to get a hold of you just with some simple questions, they probably could do that as well. But let us know where we can contact you. Where your website? Mention that again, and I'm sure that has all your social media on there too. But mention that as well if you would.
Yes. So you can find me on my blog at attitude.com. It's ADAATUDE.com. And then I am on Instagram pretty much every day of every hour, just attitude, ADAATUDE. I will probably respond to your DM unless you're creepy.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate you coming on and spending some time talking to us. So we've been on almost an hour now. It's amazing.
It's been a really good conversation.
Yeah.
You're awesome to talk to.
Well, I bought
my thoughts with you. You're
right.
You're like the stereotypical personality of like a bartender or a barber. You just tell all your secrets. You share everything. It feels normal, natural. Totally cool.
I feel like if we do this again, we're going to have drinks. There's going to have to be some sort of drink situation. Yeah.
I mean, you are in Nashville.
Right.
Nashville knows how to get down.
They do. Well, Adaleta. I am not.
It's fine.
Not
How
great.
about Ada? Ada's pretty easy.
Perfect. I can get that. I can wrap around that. Ada. I like it. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you guys don't follow this wonderful lady, you're stupid. That's my opinion. I'm just saying that you're stupid. Go do it. Make it happen. Go to the website. There's a lot of good stuff over there on the website as well. Did we mention your YouTube channel? Did we say that yet?
No. You can just find me on YouTube, Adaleta Avdic. I post occasionally.
Well, I actually went over there and I watched a few videos. They're good. I like them. You need to go follow her. Anything.
For concealer.
I might buy some because of those videos. I don't even need it, but I'm probably going to buy some. But go follow her. Go find out what she's doing and attach yourself to her, because there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Doesn't matter what you're doing in life. Just go do it right now. Make it happen.
Thank you today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yes.
All right. See you guys.
See you later.